Welcome to Twisted Truths, where betrayal meets brutal payback, and where the most unexpected twists expose what people are really capable of. This story isn't just shocking, it's personal. My name is Joseph Ellison. I'm 29 years old, and 4 years ago, I thought I'd made it. Fresh out of college, I landed a sales job at Dynatech Robotics, a rising star in the industrial automation game. No trust fund, no family connections, just me, a used Honda Civic, and a work ethic sharpened by watching my dad grind for decades in medical sales so we never went hungry. For a while, it felt like the dream was real. I was bringing in numbers nobody expected. My third year, I closed over $2.3 million in new business, most of it without even expensing the travel. I'd fly coach, sleep in motels, and work 70-hour weeks just to land clients who'd never heard of us before. I was Rookie of the Year, then top performer. But no matter how much I did, someone else always got the reward. The Westmont deal. Tyler Davis took credit. The team bonuses. Only the senior guys saw a dime. The company car. Not in the budget, they said, until Lawrence, our VP of sales, rolled up in a brand new Audi. Still, I kept my head down. Because I believed loyalty mattered. Until the day I took one vacation day. One. And they used it to ruin me. I'd earned that day. Used it to grab coffee with Vanessa Mills, a former client who'd moved on to Trillin Systems. She mentioned they were building a new business development team, needed someone who knew both automation and client psychology. Someone like me. It wasn't even a job offer yet. Just a conversation. I didn't know someone from Dynatech would see me in that lobby. Didn't know word would fly up the chain before I even got home. The next morning, I was called into Lawrence Bennett's office. He leaned back in his chair like he was doing me a favor. "This shows you're not committed to the team, Joseph." I didn't say anything. Just looked at his fake tan, his $3,000 watch, the smug little smirk that said he thought he owned me. "You're terminated. Effective immediately." He didn't expect me to stay calm. But I did. I stood up, reached across the desk, and shook his hand. "Thank you for the opportunity," I said. He flinched. That wasn't the reaction he wanted. HR watched me pack my things like I was a criminal. 4 years of work, reduced to a cactus, a mug, and a few pens in a cardboard box. Tyler wouldn't even look me in the eye. As the elevator doors closed, I caught my reflection in the stainless steel. I didn't look angry. I didn't look broken. I looked free. Or so I thought. When I walked into my apartment that afternoon, it didn't feel like home. Nothing had changed, but everything had. The box of office junk sat on my kitchen counter like a joke. My cactus already drooped, like it knew it had been evicted too. I cracked open a beer and collapsed onto the couch, not to rest, just to stop moving. For the first time in years, I wasn't hustling toward a goal. I wasn't chasing a client, grinding out a proposal, or begging for the raise I'd earned 3 times over. I was nothing. At least that's how it felt. My phone buzzed. Then again. Then again. 3 missed calls from my mom. A text from my sister. "Tyler just called looking for you. Are you okay?" Wait. Tyler? How did he get my sister's number? That felt like a boundary I didn't even know could be crossed. I turned off my phone. Sat in the silence. Tried to convince myself this wasn't the end of the world. Then the email came. From Vanessa Mills. "The team loved what I shared about you. Can you come in tomorrow at 10 a.m.? A flicker of hope. I wrote back one word. Yes. But that night, sleep didn't come easily. I kept replaying the moment Lawrence fired me. Not the words, his face. The smugness. Like he'd done it before. Like it wasn't personal, but also, somehow, completely personal. The next morning, I put on the best suit I owned. It wasn't expensive, but it was clean and fit well. The kind of suit I used to wear when Lawrence hijacked my meetings and claimed my slides as his. Vanessa greeted me with a smile and a firm handshake. "You're exactly what we need," she said. By the end of the meeting, I had a job offer, Regional Director of Business Development at Trillion Systems. Double my Dynatech salary. Full commission. Signing bonus. A real office. A team. I said yes on the spot. I should have felt triumphant. But I didn't realize I was walking into a battlefield. It started subtly. A cease and desist letter arrived just 5 days into my new role. "Mr. Ellison is in violation of a non-compete agreement. Terminate employment or face legal action." What non-compete? I'd never signed one. I scrambled to find my original Dynatech paperwork. Offer letter, NDA, HR forms, no mention of a non-compete. But their legal team sent one anyway. Signed. Dated. 3 years ago. Only, it wasn't my signature. At least not one I remembered ever giving. My stomach sank. I remembered a performance review 3 years back, when I'd gotten Rookie of the Year. Lawrence had handed me a packet of standard forms to sign. "Just HR updates," he'd said. "Sign where the tabs are." I didn't read them. Now, they were using that moment to strangle my future. Trillion's legal team stepped up. "We'll fight this," the attorney assured me. "It's flimsy at best. They're stretching the definition of competitor. But brace yourself, they're going to make it ugly." They didn't waste time. Within a week, one of my old clients forwarded me an email from Lawrence. "Did Joseph contact you? We're investigating potential data theft." They were accusing me of stealing client information. That same day, someone tried to log into my personal LinkedIn account from an unrecognized device. Then, my Gmail was flooded with password resets. They weren't just trying to get me fired from Trillion. They were trying to erase me. I forwarded everything to legal. My hands trembled as I typed. I wasn't scared of a fight, but I hadn't expected a war. Then the phone rang. Blocked number. "Joseph? This is Jessica from accounting at Dynatech. You don't know me, but I needed to warn you." Her voice was low, shaky. "I saw Lawrence in the server room the day after you left. He was in your folder. Downloaded everything. Then deleted it. The next day, they started saying you took client files." My breath caught. "He framed me." She paused. "I can't go on the record. I need this job. But you deserve to know what you're up against." Then she hung up. I stared at the wall, feeling the weight press back in. Harder this time. This wasn't about a job. This was about survival. These people weren't just unethical, they were dangerous. And for the first time in my life, I didn't just feel betrayed. I felt hunted. I was drowning in silence. The kind that creeps in after betrayal, after injustice. The kind where you replay every interaction, every meeting, every word, trying to see the dagger before it struck. I couldn't sleep. Every night, I lay awake thinking about Jessica's call. Her whisper of truth. Lawrence going into the server room. Deleting files. Fabricating my guilt. And me? I'd been clueless. Too loyal. Too trusting. Not anymore. The legal battle dragged on. Dynatech's lawyers bombarded Trillion with threats, breach of contract, corporate espionage, client poaching. They even accused me of manipulating numbers on the $2 million Abbott manufacturing deal. I felt sick. That deal had been everything to me. I'd flown out 3 times, on my own dime. Missed my cousin's wedding to land it. And now they were using it to paint me as a liar. My attorney said, "We need leverage. Something undeniable. Right now, it's your word against theirs. And then it hit me. My commission. The Abbott deal was the biggest of the year, yet my final paycheck from Dynatech didn't include the bonus. No commission. No breakdown. Just silence. So where did that money go? I flagged it to our legal team. Look into my last payout, I said. It doesn't make sense. They nodded. That's something concrete. The very next day, I got a message from a name I hadn't expected. Tyler Davis. The same Tyler who'd ghosted me the day I was fired. The same Tyler who watched me carry a cardboard box out of the office with no more emotion than a yawn. We should talk, his message read. Not about legal stuff. Something else. It's important. Against my better judgment, I met him. We sat at a dingy cafe off the freeway. He looked like hell, disheveled, tired, anxious. I can't be tied to this, he muttered as soon as we sat down. I could lose everything. I didn't speak. Just waited. The non-compete? It's not real. Well, it is. But not how you think. He rubbed his hands together, like scrubbing away guilt. Lawrence has done this before. Gets people to sign routine paperwork during reviews, then swaps in new pages afterward. Pages with clauses. Pages you never saw. So mine was forged. No, he said. The signature's yours. But the document wasn't what you signed. It's a bait and switch. The original pages are destroyed. The fakes are filed. I leaned forward. Why are you telling me this now? Tyler looked down at his cold coffee. Because they're scared of you. You're the first one who fought back. Everyone else just disappeared. I narrowed my eyes. And you? You disappeared too. I stayed, he said, with a bitter laugh. And I regret it. You weren't the only one cheated out of commission. Lawrence, he's been skimming. What? Every big deal, every bonus, he's been pocketing the difference. Inflated overhead costs, hidden adjustments. I found the real spreadsheets on his computer by accident. 2 sets of numbers, what was earned, and what was actually paid. My pulse throbbed in my ears. You have proof? He nodded slowly. Screenshots. Emails. Even bank transfers. But if I give them to you, I'm done. Blacklisted. You already are, I told him. The only choice is whether you go down with them, or help take them down. He hesitated. Then pulled out his phone and began forwarding the files. What I saw made my skin crawl. Commission structures rewritten. Email trails manipulated. Dozens of salespeople robbed of their earnings. Dynatech wasn't just exploiting talent. They were running a financial scam on their own employees. Tyler looked me dead in the eye. They've done this for years. And the ones who questioned it? I nodded. Gone. He took a breath. But it gets worse. I braced myself. Lawrence and the CFO, they have a slush fund. Vendor kickbacks. Faked invoices. Phantom expenses. It's not just about you, Joseph. I stared at him, my mind racing. It wasn't personal because they hated me. It was personal because I got too close to the truth. And now, they were trying to erase me before I pulled the thread that unraveled everything. Tyler left the cafe without another word, head low, phone tucked away like it carried radioactive guilt. I sat there a moment longer, just staring out the window. It was raining now, fitting, really. I had enough to feel the edges of a scandal, enough to scare them, but not enough to finish them. The files Tyler gave me showed a pattern, but no witness. No names willing to go on the record. Not even him. Without testimony, it was all just noise. Screenshots. Claims. I needed someone with nothing left to lose. That night, I stayed up building a list of every former Dynatech employee who had vanished under suspicious circumstances, top sellers who quit suddenly, guys with families who walked away from six-figure deals, people like me who were too good to just disappear. One name stood out. Kevin Blackwell. Eastern Region top performer. 3 years running. Quit last year after whispers of a drinking problem and behavioral issues. But I remembered Kevin. Straight-laced. Family man. Deacon at his church. Always calm. Always composed. The story didn't fit. It never had. I found him on LinkedIn. He was working for a tiny automation firm in Charlotte. Barely a blip compared to what he'd earned at Dynatech. I sent a message. Need to talk about Lawrence Bennett. It's important. His reply came in under 5 minutes. I've been waiting for this call. We met in a park on the edge of the city. Neutral ground. He looked older, like someone who'd been carrying a weight far too long. They burned you too? He asked. Worse, I said. They're trying to bury me. He gave a bitter smile. That tracks. Kevin didn't waste time. I found the second ledger, he said. Spreadsheets with 2 sets of numbers, what we were owed, and what we were paid. Lawrence skimmed commissions, padded invoices, fabricated vendor payments. I was building a case for the board, and then it all flipped. He looked away. Next thing I knew, I was accused of showing up to client meetings drunk. Meetings I never even attended. 2 weeks later, I was gone. Why didn't you go public? I asked. They didn't threaten me directly, Kevin said, but they let me know, subtly, how easy it would be to mess with my wife's job at the hospital. Or my kids' enrollment at school. They've got friends everywhere. Lawrence knows how to use fear. I felt a chill. Do you still have the documents? He nodded. All of it. On an encrypted drive, off-site. I've been waiting for someone who could carry the torch. I leaned forward. I'm not just carrying it, Kevin. I'm burning the whole forest. We shook hands. No lawyers. No contracts. Just 2 men who'd been chewed up by the same machine. Back at Trillin, I looped in our legal team. Vanessa Mills, my boss, listened in silence as I laid it all out, Tyler's files, Kevin's spreadsheets, commission theft, fraud, kickbacks, forged contracts. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair and said, We're not just backing you. We're going after them. Trillin had the resources. I had the evidence. Kevin had the paper trail. And suddenly, Dynatech was no longer just a former employer. It was a target. But if I was going to take them down, I couldn't just strike. I had to undermine them. I started reconnecting with every former client I had under Dynatech, especially the ones who'd reached out in confusion after my firing. The ones Lawrence was now trying to poach back. I didn't pitch them. I just told them the truth. One by one, they started backing away from Dynatech. Quietly at first. But then came the first domino, Abbott Manufacturing. They terminated their ongoing support contract with Dynatech, citing ethical concerns. Then another, Milestream Logistics. Then Core Metals Inc. Meanwhile, Trillin's legal team filed a countersuit, wrongful termination, defamation, fraudulent documentation, and unpaid commission. But we weren't done. We compiled everything, Kevin's hard drive, Tyler's emails, the doctored contracts, the altered commission charts, and prepared a packet for the Securities and Exchange Commission. Then another for the State Attorney General's office. We didn't just want compensation. We wanted justice. And I wasn't going to stop until Lawrence and every rotten executive at Dynatech was publicly dragged through the fire they lit. I didn't sleep the night we filed the countersuit. Not out of fear, out of anticipation. For 4 years, I gave that company everything: weekends, family time, my health. They fired me for interviewing on a vacation day. Then tried to destroy my name. Now, I was finally fighting back, with facts, with witnesses, and with a company that had my back. Trillin's legal team moved quickly. The lawsuit wasn't just about my wrongful termination anymore. We bundled it with Kevin Blackwell's evidence, Tyler's files, and a detailed timeline of forged contracts, altered documents, and years of commission fraud. We'd also included a forensic breakdown of missing payments, backed by client-verified sales figures and email trails. It wasn't just shady anymore. It was criminal. The next domino fell fast. The SEC launched a preliminary investigation. And then something happened we didn't expect. The press got wind of it. One of the attorneys Trillin hired had a former classmate who worked at the Raleigh Business Journal. Within 48 hours of filing, the headline dropped. Whistleblower lawsuit alleges multi-million-dollar fraud at Dynatech Robotics. Beneath it, a photo of Lawrence Bennett smiling on a stage. And beneath that, my name. That same day, my inbox exploded. Former Dynatech employees. Current ones. Even a few I'd never spoken to directly. All of them saying the same thing. I think I was cheated too. They did the same to me. How can I help? I couldn't believe it. People I hadn't seen in years were crawling out of the shadows with receipts, emails, spreadsheets, even recorded conversations. Every single one of them had felt alone, like they'd just been unlucky. Now, they saw the truth. This wasn't bad management. This was a system of corporate theft. Within 3 days, the Attorney General's office issued subpoenas. Dynatech's headquarters was raided. Federal agents walked in and started collecting hard drives, filing cabinets, and servers. Word spread fast. Lawrence Bennett was placed on administrative leave. The CFO vanished from the website within hours. Tyler sent me one final text. They took everything. Even my laptop. I'm suspended. I didn't reply. I had work to do. Trillin assigned me a full-time assistant and 2 new hires to help with the influx of leads, many from former Dynatech clients who no longer wanted anything to do with a company under criminal investigation. The irony? Lawrence tried to frame me for stealing clients. But now those clients were calling me. Joseph, one said. You always did right by us. We're not staying with a company that punishes honesty. We closed 3 new contracts in the first week after the article dropped. And yet, I didn't feel vindicated. Not yet. Because Dynatech hadn't officially admitted anything. And Lawrence? He was still out there, silent. Untouched. Probably scheming. Until he emailed me. Joseph, let's meet. I can explain everything. We don't need to go to war. War. He fired the first shot. I forwarded the email to my attorney and said one word, good. Because we weren't just fighting back anymore. We were winning. The next morning, another surprise hit. Dynatech filed to drop their lawsuit against me. No explanation. No apology. Just withdrawal. 2 days later, their stock nosedived. News outlets picked up the story nationwide. Former employees began filing a class action lawsuit for unpaid commissions. Then the SEC went public. They were expanding the investigation to include wire fraud, contract tampering, and internal embezzlement. I sat in my office, watching the headlines roll in. I should have felt satisfied. But I knew this wasn't over. Not until Lawrence's name was stripped from every boardroom and his dirty empire burned to the ground. The headlines kept coming. Dynatech execs under fire. Fraud allegations expand to commission scheme. Whistleblower sparks industry-wide audit. Every click, every view, every repost chipped away at the empire that once tried to erase me. But even as the storm raged, I stayed quiet. No interviews. No public statements. Let the truth do the talking. Then came the email. Not from Lawrence. Not from the CFO. Not even from HR. It was from the board chair of Dynatech. Mr. Ellison, the board is conducting its own internal review. We request a meeting with you off record. We believe your insight could help us determine the extent of executive misconduct. It felt like a trap. But my attorney said, let's hear them out. So I met them. Downtown, top floor of a steel and glass law firm, everything marble and quiet power. There were 3 of them. No handshakes. Just tension. We've seen the evidence, the chair said, sliding a printed folder across the table. We believe Mr. Bennett and the CFO were running an unauthorized commission siphoning scheme. But I leaned in. But the extent of manipulation suggests someone else may have helped. What do you mean? Someone forged digital audit trails. Someone inside IT. Someone high up. My stomach tightened. Then she said it. We believe it was Tyler Davis. I blinked. Tyler came forward. Exactly, she said. He came forward too easily. Right before the raid. Right before the story broke. My pulse was pounding. What are you suggesting? He gave you just enough to trigger an investigation, but protected himself. Do you know where the leak to the Raleigh Business Journal came from? I shook my head. Tyler. Under a burner account. I froze. The story, the press attention, the carefully timed collapse, it wasn't just me exposing the truth. It was Tyler using me to take down Lawrence, so he could climb over the ashes. Suddenly everything clicked. Tyler's confession. His claim of guilt. The files he accidentally found. The way he framed Lawrence but kept himself one layer removed from everything dirty. He wasn't trying to make it right. He was trying to escape the wreckage first, and take credit for the fire. I left that meeting shaken. The betrayal wasn't over. It had just evolved. That night, I opened my inbox. Sitting there, unread, was a new message, from Kevin. You're not going to like this. But I found something. Attached were several emails between Tyler and the CFO, dating back over 2 years. Subject lines like, split confirmation, adjusted percentages, don't CC Lawrence. Tyler hadn't been an accessory. He'd been in on it. From the beginning. The smoking gun. An Excel file titled, Q3_override_payouts.xlsx, with both Tyler's and the CFO's initials in the metadata. It showed Tyler receiving a retention bonus that matched the amount missing from my final Abbott commission. He hadn't just helped Lawrence steal. He'd taken my money. The next morning, I forwarded the evidence to the board. Then to my attorney. Then to the SEC case agent. Within 48 hours, Tyler Davis was arrested. The charges? Conspiracy to commit fraud. Forgery. Wire transfer tampering. Destruction of internal records. The arrest warrant cited digital evidence provided by a cooperating witness, Kevin. Tyler's name was wiped from Dynatech's internal systems by the end of the day. And me? I was finally free of every shadow they'd cast over my name. But I wasn't done. Because the most poetic justice wasn't in revenge. It was in becoming the man they tried to destroy, and then surpassing him. 3 months after I was fired with a cardboard box in my arms, I sat in a courtroom, not as a defendant, but as the man whose testimony helped collapse a fraudulent empire. The final hearing was swift. Kevin's evidence, Tyler's betrayal, and the forensic audits traced nearly $7.4 million in unpaid commissions and fraudulent bonuses over 6 years. Lawrence Bennett and the CFO both took plea deals in exchange for reduced sentences, but only after naming other senior execs who were part of the scheme. Tyler Davis refused to cooperate. He's now serving a federal sentence for conspiracy and wire fraud. Dynatech's reputation destroyed. Their stock plunged 68% in a week. Lawsuits piled on. Clients ran. Eventually, they were acquired by a mid-tier competitor, for pennies on the dollar. Poetic. But the real moment of closure didn't come in court. It came the next morning. A courier arrived at my door. A check from Dynatech Robotics, $147,000 in unpaid commissions and damages. It sat on my desk for a week. Not because I was waiting to cash it, but because I wanted to remember what it cost. Every late night. Every betrayal. Every lie. That check wasn't money. It was proof that the truth leaves a mark, even when they try to erase you. 1 year later, I stood at the front of a sleek new conference room at Trillion Systems. We'd just wrapped our best quarter yet. My division had tripled revenue. We expanded into 2 new markets, onboarded 12 former Dynatech clients, and built a commission structure so transparent, it was becoming a model for the industry. Vanessa pulled me aside after the meeting. The board voted. Effective next month, you're being promoted. Vice President of Business Development. I nodded, grateful, but not surprised. Because we'd built something real. Something honest. And I wasn't done. We created a mentorship program for rising salespeople, especially the ones who'd been burned by corporate corruption. We brought Kevin on as an ethics consultant. Trillion even sponsored a legal fund for whistleblowers in the industry. I didn't just want to win. I wanted to make sure no one else had to fight the way I did. That evening, I drove to my parents' new place. They'd moved closer a few months earlier, my dad finally retiring after a lifetime in sales. We sat on his porch, sipping iced tea, watching the sun disappear behind the trees. "I'm proud of you, son," he said. "Not because you beat them. But because you didn't let them change who you are." I nodded. "It was never about revenge, Dad." He smiled. "I know. It was about the truth." We sat in silence for a while. Then he laughed, pointing at the old Honda Civic still parked out front. "You ever gonna upgrade from that rust bucket?" I smirked. "Eventually. But for now, I like the reminder." "What's it remind you of?" I looked out at the world I'd rebuilt. That the fastest way up, isn't stepping on people. It's building something that lasts. In the end, truth has a way of surfacing, even if it comes twisted through pain and betrayal. As one wise voice once said, sometimes your greatest enemy was once your closest ally. If this story struck a chord with you, let us know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe, share, and spread the word, because justice deserves to be heard.